Often it's the case that a cheaper variant of a unit is the more cost-effective one and will be generally more useful. However, with demonettes, I am of the opinion, like with some of the other demon infantry, that the higher tier one is actually the one that you want to be taking. Just cross over that threshold where the cost to upgrade them over the base variant makes sense. Demonettes, Exalted Demonettes specifically, are quite broken in a number of ways. Keep in mind that anytime infantry has high charge, it benefits them greatly because they have a lot of unit models, which means even if only 25% of the unit models are in base contact, so to speak, on a charge, that's still a substantial amount of damage, given that this charge bonus gets added to weapon strength, right? If you think about the devastating flanker passive, this charge bonus gets doubled up to 56, resulting in 90 plus weapon strength for the demonettes here. Over 100 melee attack as well. Not to mention, 44 melee defense is pretty good already. You factor in the charmed contact effect, essentially giving it a +8 to put it up to 52. Huge amount of melee defense makes them very tanky in melee in certain situations. They definitely will take a lot of shock damage from high charge units. Obviously very squishy against any kind of ranged fire, but in melee they are absolute powerhouses. Not to mention, there are units wavering or lower morale nearby. They will pick up a little bit of extra weapon damage and melee attack, so pretty good stuff against a faction like Cathay that relies a lot on static armored infantry. That 54 speed also allows them to outmaneuver effectively and utilize that devastating flanker passive. Now, this was sent in by, I believe, Way. I'll double check after that and correct in the comments down below. I apologize. It doesn't show me the names on the replays of the players here anymore, so sometimes I forget. But anyway, Miao Ying brought with Double Sentinel. Pretty good opening with Jade Warriors and Peasant Long Spears. We've got 2 Longmas in reserve, Fire Rain Rockets, couple of Celestial Dragon Guard, 3 Jade Warriors, 3 Peasant Archers, and a Peasant Long Spear. For the Slaanesh forces, we've got Exalted Keeper of Secrets, a couple of Cultists, Hellstriders, and 2 Marauders, regular Keeper of Secrets in reserve, as well as a Soul Grinder, 1 unit of Fiends, 2 Exalted Demonettes, Hellstriders with Hell Scourges, a couple of regular Hellstriders, and 3 more Marauders. In particular, the combination of the Fiends with their Soporific Musk plus Charmed is a significant melee attack debuff. What is it? Plus minus 13 melee attack overall between the 2 of them. They do synergize quite well. That being said, you know, you have to basically bring Fiends and Demonettes, both of which are fairly expensive units, but let's see. The Demonettes are going to be in reserve, and again, the speed benefits them being there. They can get into the fight faster than just about any other infantry. Currently, faster than any infantry in the game, but once the Skaven come along, they'll have something to say about that. But we're watching from the Cathay player's perspective here. And we're once again on the Silver Spire map, as with yesterday. This is a map that you probably won't see me play a lot of custom games on, but it will come up on ladder from time to time. So here we are with the Sentinels striding forth, Miao Ying on her little lightning cloud there. And the forces of Slaanesh, of course, it is Lore of Slaanesh, Keeper of Secrets, not Lore of Shadows. So this person wanted to have some fun and not just abuse Pendulum. Hysterical Frenzy, Slicing Shards, Acquiescence, and the 2 buffs. Alright, buff and the debuff, right? Ballet of Blows and Seductive Glory, which does give Rampage on contact, which is quite nice, or on effect, rather. And of course, the Cultists, they do have the Demonette summons, which is where I like to bring Demonettes. As a unit, I think Demonettes, they... At 800 cost, they're squishy enough that if you mess up with them, it will be a big problem for you in terms of army value damage. And they're just that less survivability. I think it's like a difference of something like 16 melee defense when you factor in the base difference, plus the charmed contact effect for the Exalteds. I think it's something in the area of 16 more melee defense over the base variant of Demonettes, not to mention they have a tiny bit more armor, and the extra weapon damage and extra charge both benefit greatly. But this Keeper's going to charge in here. Get a combat going, little debuff on the Sentinel, and the Sentinel had its back turned there. I don't know if that is going to proc the devastating flanker passive, but regardless, cavalry moving in as well. I've got some more infantry coming up for Cathay, some more Jade Warriors ready to join the fight, so big, meaty engagement here. Bit of a buff as well. Ballet of Blows, Hysterical Frenzy, up to 672 melee attack with anti-large. 672 weapon strength, 122 melee attack. Got the summons also coming in. Demonette's going to be summoned here. Unfortunately, they don't summon in a position where they can get a rear charge, which is kind of the ideal use case for them, but certainly they're going to get in here and deal quite a bit of damage regardless. 32 weapon strength, pretty decent charge, 20 charge. Miao Ying going to respond with a very nice Talent of the Night, just absolutely wreck those Hellstriders there. We take kind of an overarching look at the reinforcement pools. No Demonettes? Yes, actually. One Exalted Demonette already brought in. We've got some Marauders also going to be going down onto the low ground to try and tangle with those peasants. Slaanesh staying aggressive. I like the forward pressure. With Slaanesh's speed, you can definitely threaten your opponent's home objectives on certain maps where that's applicable, and just keep them on the back foot as much as possible. The Keeper's going to pull away, though. Doesn't want to take this 3v1 single entity fight, which is definitely smart. There's a big old blob here formed up, though, and the rockets have been brought in by Cathay here, so going to be landing, doing some pretty good damage. Keep in mind that the Demonettes here are summoned, so yep, you can see the summon timer run out there already. Both of them drop, leaving less of a target saturation for those rockets to fire into. May have been a little bit of a bait almost bringing that rocket out, but we'll see if it ends up paying for itself still. Plenty of light armor targets moving in. Look at how fast those Exalted Demonettes are. They've got their massive claw hands out, ready for a grand time. Absolutely brutal. Super, super fast. Oh, man, look at the mean, like, hook right there. That is nasty. You nasty. They're going to just stand on the point for the time being. Slaanesh has actually failed to capture their home objective, which is not the biggest deal in the world. They can very quickly send some troops down there to get it taken care of. More Exalted Demonettes moving in. More Talons of the Night as well, doing a ton of damage to both sides, honestly. Does finish off those Marauders, but the rockets also probably doing quite a bit of friendly fire. The Keeper's got to be careful again not to go 3v1, but currently the cavalry, the Hellstriders, are distracting just enough so that the Sentinels are not able to turn their attention. If they all three went, you know, after the Exalted Keeper focused, that would do quite a bit. They'd probably get trapped in and maybe straight up killed. Hard to say, probably not, but the Cultists also kind of distracting the Sentinels here, providing some extra single entities so that it's not a 3v1 situation. Nice 3v3. Or isolated 1v1 and 2v1. But anyway, Miao Ying takes quite a bit of damage there. Exalted Demonettes are able to get into a surround. Really good placement on that Earthblood, though. Hits all these important single entities. And the rocket fire, yeah, it does a little bit. I mean, even still, though, look at the lack of damage on these Demonettes. I'm going to keep the health bars up as we zoom in a little bit. You guys can watch as they take relatively little damage in this sustained combat here against these heroes. Because of that high melee defense, you can see Miao Ying is charmed. Down to 52 melee attack. She still definitely has enough, as do the Sentinels, to make consistent contact, but yeah. Demonettes definitely take a lot of damage. You can see the ranged fire, even the non-AP here of these Peasant Archers, and the rockets obviously going to do quite a bit of damage, but even still, more Exalted Demonettes moving in, and I believe they're going to probably proc devastating flanker on Miao Ying at the very least, possibly the Sentinel as well. Another heal there from Miao. But the leadership of Exalted Demonettes is pretty good. At this point, this unit's probably taken too much damage, though. Let's check the gold value. Just about paid for themselves. Almost 1,000 in damage value. Which is not too bad, all things considered. The Cathay, a little bit behind right now in terms of army damage value, probably. But they are contesting the points, and they're not getting too far behind on tickets. Probably a good thing. I don't know, hard to say. Maybe you want some comeback mechanic, but Keeper fighting it out with the Sentinel. Behind the tree here, we've got the double Cultist on Miao. Now, she is in infantry form, and of course, Cultists of Slaanesh do come with a nice 400 weapon strength, 25 bonus versus infantry, so definitely doesn't want to take this 2v1 at all. Probably wants to transform back into dragon shape and get out of dodge, but still, Hellstrider's kind of pressuring forward a little bit here. The one Demonette does survive that combat. Let's check in on the value and see, yeah, 559 value, not too bad. Rockets fail to make effective contact on that volley, mostly missing all their shots. Rockets have probably got to be just about out of ammo, so if the Demonettes can weather this storm, it's Hellstorm, if you will, be pretty good. The Keeper of Secrets does go down, though, so Cathay at this point has a good chance for a comeback. Recapture, not that they're that far behind again, but just to recapture the center objective, recapture the home objectives. Those Marauders were able to get down there and wreck the Peasants, but Jade Warriors and Peasant Archers moving in be secure. So Slaanesh, just as much pressure as possible, is paying off to a degree, but also starting to run out of steam. A lot of damage has been now redone. Rockets used up all of its ammunition without really being contested by any Furies, which is a problem. Cultists still have quite a bit to give, but not if they get terrified away, which they definitely can. This poor bald elven gal is gonna run for the hills. We get some more Longmas out from Cathay. Very close game so far, but let's see. So far, the Demonettes really haven't performed, and they do show their weakness in that they're quite flimsy and need to be used effectively to shine. But let's see how they can do in this second phase. Got more Hellstriders moving in. Yeah, some more Hellstriders here in the woods. Longmas need to be too careful not to completely overextend, but they are shattering some units and getting them off the field. Great. The Sentinel moves up, caps that objective. The home objective is also capped once again. Cathay in a pretty commanding position. At this point, though, the Fire Iron Rocket has a tiny bit of ammunition left. Once it uses all of its ammunition, it's pretty good to just de-summon it, so that if you get the Winds of Magic, you can bring it back in. Especially, I mean, the Cathay player here doesn't know that there's no Furies in reserve, but can probably guess because Furies haven't been brought out yet. They're such an obvious counter to artillery. In general, I do like the Furies here as well, just for the armor-piercing damage against Cathay and infantry. But a nice Storm of the Night in here. The Terracotta Sentinel still being poisoned and dragged down by Hellstriders. We've got Longmas in a rear charge, though. That should be able to clean up. And look who's back. That's right, these Exalted Demonettes are hungry for more slaughter and revelry. Here they are, ready to tango. This could be a pretty brutal charge, though, if both of these Longmas just go all in. Let's, again, keep the health bars up so we can judge the charge damage here. Yeah, pretty good charge damage on both charges. Yeah, not too bad, but once the Demonettes start punching back, it should be pretty decent. You can see down to only 28 melee attack and sustained combat. As the Longmas now pull away, they are going to take a pretty substantial amount of damage. Probably? No? Yeah, that one did not take much damage. This one, though, you can see, yeah, they are starting to get pretty hard. Only 34 melee defense, too, and certainly that 52 melee attack is enough to make consistent contact. So even without the benefit of Devastating Flanker, those Demonettes will still just shred those Longmas. Yeah, the Cathayan player definitely needs to get them out and away and back up into the air. Rockets, a couple more volleys. Yeah, actually just used all of its ammunition literally right there. That last volley was pretty solid. Did some damage to some Marauders, no doubt. But more Hellstriders moving in. Clean up this weakened Cathayan infantry. Peasant Archers teeing off. Demonettes here. This unit, yeah, did come back and make up. Granted, it's been summoned twice, so it's not exactly been cost-effective. But still, has made up quite a bit of damage value. If they can finish off Meow here, that would be a pretty big boon. But that Peasant Archer fire, it hurts quite a bit. Hellstriders moving in to try and shut them down. Will they be able to in time? It looks like the Demonettes might suffer banishment, but perhaps not. Does look like the Peasant Archers are silenced by the Hellstriders. Now, Longmas could perhaps drop a little rear charge right here, but they themselves might get sandwiched by the Hellstriders. The Hellstriders. Terracotta Sentinel. Ooh, just punts that. Oh, absolutely punts that cultist. And looks like the Demonettes did end up crumbling away, but that's okay. Still, we're able to do some damage to the Longmas. Longmas over here, just kind of trundling. I mean, they're not really doing a lot. They can't really capture, so might as well bring them back and try and break some of these units on the center objective, because these Hellstriders are starting to cause problems. The low leadership of a lot of these tattered Cathayan units coming back to haunt them. More Hellstriders, Hellscourges moving in. These guys have been resummoned multiple times, and it's easy to understand why. They do not have Devastating Flanker, but they still will get a little bit of extra juice from the Soul Hunters. And of course, just that fast speed and decent charge, 40 charge bonus, good enough to, especially like weakened units in this state, just punch them down, get them off the battlefield. So good stuff for Slaanesh. You can see how they're kind of playing Cathay forward from the objectives, and the Cathayan infantry and cavalry isn't able to really get and hold here. It looks like this Sentinel brought out again is going to come back and try and get on this center objective. The Sentinels have pretty good capture weight, but as long as Slaanesh keeps plenty of infantry and cavalry in and around this point, cultists also, foot and horse heroes count for more capture power than monsters do. So the fact that the two cultists are standing here is holding a huge amount of capture weight on this center objective, and that is definitely affecting Cathay at this point. Some really nice back and forth right now. Slaanesh ahead by about 200 tickets, but Cathay's not in the best situation if they can aggressively push forward and shut down a lot of these units. The problem is you don't really have a lot of shock damage with Cathay, right? It's sort of the weakness of their faction design in this specific matchup that you don't have the benefit of too many high shock units. Like, yes, you've got the Longmas, but they're really your only kind of shock damage, right? You don't have any good DPS infantry, at least in the current game. Hopefully we get some, like, monkey infantry or something in the future to help fulfill that role. I mean, your cavalry's pretty terrible. Jade Lancers are quite bad. They're more for holding. They're kind of like mobile blockers, like Empire Knights, but worse. Aren't really meant to dish out a ton of damage. So against something like Slaanesh, where you really need the damage, to be honest, it can be problematic, but let's see. Honestly, the Sentinel can just like run through these Marauders and get onto this objective. Use these Longmas to come in and silence the Marauders and just commit everything as much as you can to capturing the center objective, which, I mean, they are doing, but even still, with some of these units, there's no reason for them to still. It looks like, there we go. Now the Sentinel is walking through, as it should. A nice little sandwich here from these Hellstriders onto the Longmas. Maybe they actually had an attack order on that Sentinel. So see if the Sentinel goes down. But Longmas aren't providing any capture weight here, which is potentially problematic. But, I mean, it's like crossing the threshold of being too far ahead right now, where if the way here, the main player had been able to capture that center objective just a little bit faster, he probably would have been able to come back. But right now, it's getting out of reach where he needs to actually recap. So, yeah, an unfortunate situation, but Demonettes, Exalted Demonettes of Slaanesh come back in the late game. This unit has been resummoned multiple times, almost 2,000 damage value. So, although technically they haven't paid for themselves individually on each time, the fact that they've been brought out multiple times, and now especially this engagement is one where they will really, really shine against the very expensive, high-value armored infantry, Celestial Dragon Guard, even charging directly from the front. They are just going to have a bad time. Only 26 attack on those Celestial Dragon Halberds means that they are just going to struggle to make contact at all with the Exalted Demonettes. These Demonettes, having gained a lot of experience, means that they have even more higher stats, right? So just a really, really bad situation for those poor Cathayan infantry. And, yeah, again, Longma's just getting swamped here in the Hellstriders, which also summoned multiple times. Terracotta Sentinel, not enough capture weight to hold. These Marauders just standing on the corner of the objective, just mocking Cathay at this point. Nice little 360 from Miao Ying to finish it, but yeah, the Demonettes, let's check back in on their value after that engagement. Up to 2736 after that engagement, just absolutely mopping those Celestial Dragon Halberds. So, yeah, I mean, again, some goes to show the pros and cons, I think. The replay demonstrates both the strengths and weaknesses of the Exalted Demonettes. You see, if they get a good engagement, they can be completely devastating. But if they are mishandled, they can die pretty quickly without really paying their value back. That being said, tactical support-wise, even if they help some other units win engagements with that charmed contact effect, that could be enough to help pay for them, even if they don't necessarily make back all their damage, value, and gold. Of course, really fast infantry also is just great for capturing objectives, right? So in the same vein that why like Fiends, for example, are so good, or Chaos Spawn for a lot of the factions, they're fast, monstrous infantry to a degree. Obviously, very wide difference between those two units, but Demonettes having 54 speed and, again, 6 capture power as an infantry unit means that they can get to an objective much faster and sort of outmaneuver the enemy. Very fun stuff here. Big thanks to Wei for sending in that one, and Brave Fin to send in a loss. Cathay against Slaanesh is one of the harder matchups for Cathay. They have a few where they can do pretty well, but this is one where variety of AP and the mobility of Slaanesh is just really hard to deal with for Cathay, but they did an admirable job here. The Hellstriders, man, also definitely one of the best units in Slaanesh's roster. Summoned multiple times, pays for itself. Keeper of Secrets had a little bit of a rough time, but in the end, it didn't even matter. Meow gets quite a bit of value back, and the two Sentinels, I mean, one of them he summoned twice, and 3,611 value is quite impressive. Sentinel is definitely one of the best units in Cathay's roster, but as far as the rest of the build goes, I mean, the Rockets did end up paying for them. Absolutely. I think they were probably worth it, but the Longmas, I'm not sure, even though one of them did, actually, no, neither of them paid for themselves. very close in terms of that damage value, but part of me wonders if it'd be tough to get them onto the point, and it's nice to have the shock damage of the longbows, but I just think you need to maximize capture power in this type of situation. I don't know, maybe actually in order to maximize unit model count and capture power, you just cut these Celestial Dragon Guard. They actually didn't do anything other than get slaughtered. So maybe just bring like lots and lots more peasants and just try and go super wide. It's a little bit tricky on that map, especially with Pendulum being such a threat. In the chokes in that map, it can devastate a high model count armies, but I don't know, maybe just going with a greater volume is better here. You guys let me know what you think down in the comments below. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.